it's an interesting development, but many saw it coming. If you have a global net zero target, like we have kind of, we have that vision, it's also in the Paris Agreement, then of course the question is, do all countries need to meet that at the same time? Of course not. That would not be fair. And that's what brought, I think, India's energy minister to say, well, I mean, we still have time to get there, and maybe the OECD countries should not only be there first. I think that's already clear. Many have 2050 targets for net zero, but then also go net negative, which sounds a little bit outrageous to already talk about net negative, although the IPCC pathways kind of assume that we go there globally. And or net zero means having the same amount of removals then of emissions, and it will come mainly from reducing emissions and scaling up removals a little, and to get net negative by just doing more CDR and reducing your emissions further, which will be possible even after net zero. But it could become kind of a distraction then if OECD countries, developed countries, start talking about net negative already, let's say in the second half of the century, instead of pushing the emissions down right now, their own emissions, and pushing finance up. So it could become a distraction, a promise for the future, and it sounds great, or we're going to get net negative, because at some point you might see that a country excuses its inaction by saying, well, we will make up for this later by going net negative. That, of course, would be detrimental. Similar to now saying, okay, we can go net zero by just pushing up CDR and continue to emit like we did, with something we see with many companies who are now investing in offsetting schemes, where you have the feeling, okay, they don't intend to reduce their emissions, and that's just intent to buy into imaginary carbon dioxide removal. And that's of course needs to be avoided. Net zero and net negative will mainly come from reducing emissions, but of course it depends on upscaling CDR as well. But I think the focus still has to be on emissions reduction.